G'day fellas, and welcome to the 7th and final game between the Mister, who spawns in on the south side of the map, playing as the French, and his opponent on the opposite side of the map, Lytical. Who have we got?
It is the B coming in with the English, the much more meta pick for this map, spawning in on the red. Previous game was not so spectacular for him. Luckily for him, he has his town center placed right at the beginning for him, so he doesn't have to mess around placing it wherever he wants to.
Too soon.
It's gonna be a race for the sheep over here because while this map is characterized by the river and the crossings in the middle, one thing that's often underappreciated is that you have a ton of sheep, especially on this outer rim, and you see that B already was pretty successful gathering 7 of them out there, and he's heading towards the other side of the map, walking towards those cliffs, and Mista is playing 1 scout, only being trailed by 1 sheep. Mista usually plays 1 scout. In fact, it was a surprise for me that he used 2 scouts in the Dark Age of game number 1, but last week, every opponent he faced, he played 1 scout, and their opponents went 2 scouts. And on this map, if there is any map where you can justify 2 scouts for either of these civilizations, that should be this map, because the amount of sheep that you can collect is gigantic, and you get the feel that B is coming in with a massive advantage here, whereas Mista is already in trouble with the amount of sheep that he managed to collect.
Yeah, it's not looking pretty, but fortunately, Mista finds finally some of the sheep. We're sitting at a minute 35, and I'm sure he's going, phew, I'm so glad I found those. Yeah, so picking up 6 sheep, and now heading down towards this southern side as well. He's going to be able to pick up 3 sheep, so managing to, at least get a couple sheep in his collection. But I just wanted to say, Lytical, that in this 7th game, I'm incredibly excited for this. I think this is quite a fair matchup. This has been a relatively historic matchup that we've seen. What have you got? What have you spotted?
Oh, there's a second scout for Mista. I haven't spotted that the whole time. It was very sneaky because I was looking for those scouts for a long time, and he's got at least 8 trailing him over there. So
yeah,
I guess crisis averted. It seems like he's gonna be fine with the sheep situation. For a long time, it looked pretty grim for him. That scout wasn't really successful either, but in the end, sheep numbers will be rather even.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good for him now. But yeah, look, I'm incredibly excited for this game. We are ending this series in the same way that we started. It's an English versus French game. So back on Dry Arabia, geez, that was quite a while ago. How many hours ago was that? It must have been, 2-3 hours ago at least.
Maybe even 4.
Maybe even 4 hours potentially. But now here we are. And it's game number 7, and we've got ourselves a flip. 1 player playing the English, 1 player playing the French, and they've flipped it over. Mr. now going to be dropping down his age up, going with the School of Cavalry. How's the other side going, Lytical? Council Hall going to be happening today. No Abbey of Kings, unfortunately. I know we're all a little bit excited about the potential of an Abbey of Kings, but interestingly, no Abbey of Kings and no docks yet for either player.
No docks at all. And going back into game number 1, as I said, it was an English versus French matchup. A matchup where Mista was in great command of the English. So I wonder if he has just as good of a build for the French as he had with the English. He's building that School of Cavalry with 4, will be scouted by B. And on the other side, Council Hall looking to be built with only 2 villagers, right? So quite a slow feudal age here for B. But he probably doesn't want to rush this anyways. He's heavy on the wood department, so he's going to have either a second production building, likely a barracks, or potentially a delayed dock. I don't see a villager moving forward, though, so I'm suspecting it's just the barracks.
This is weird. He's got 8 villagers on food, and he's only got 2 villagers on the council hall. I've got no idea what he's actually doing here. Oh, he's got to be going into a stable. There's no 2 ways about it, surely. You'd have to think he's doing stable with something like that. Like, it just seems... There's just not enough... I don't know. The ratio just seems off. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, it seems off.
It's like you're eating a cake and there's too much egg in it.
Oh, speaking of too much egg, that's a scout going down.
Damn.
Disaster for Mista.
Do not mess with English town centers. They shoot a lot of arrows.
And it's a barracks. So I wonder if B just changed up his strategy based on the scout that he has spotted, because as you said, the balance was a little off, because if he wants to go for longbows and spears, he would be a little heavier on the wood department, but in the end he drops a barracks. Might have been caused by the fact that he spotted that scout. So he was like, okay, if Mista sees my eco balance, he might suspect I'm going cavalry. It's a possibility. He's voting off the crossings as we speak, and there is the dock for Mista, so things are intensifying in the middle as well.
dock actually coming up. Interesting that he looked to go for a dock about 4 minutes 40, 4 minutes 50. So a delayed dock is going to be what he looks for. No fishing ship's going to be punished out here today. Obviously, that is one of the options. When you do scout your enemy, going for that fast dock and those fishing ship openings can very easily be punished by a tower, by a, some aggressive longbowman. But Mr. going to be playing the big brain game and looking to secure up the dock. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get a Hulk out relatively soon as well. Take a look at his macro as well. It definitely indicates that he might be thinking about that.
And it's a big brain move. I'm starting to realize what he's doing. He's sending villagers to stone. And think about it this way. What is the civilization with the slowest army? Probably the English. What's the best way to keep them at bay? Make some hawks. If you can control that slow-moving army with just 2 hawks at these crossings, it is going to be impossible for B to cross. And that could allow you to go for a second town center boom.
He needs to be quick on getting this out, though. We can see that Mr. still struggling a bit back at home. He's going to be dropping down the archery range, still yet to have enough resources to get out that Hulk. He's going to need 240 gold. He's got all that in the bank. Now finally going to be able to queue up this bad boy. He doesn't actually have the population for it, but he should be able to queue it up if he wished to do it. But we'll have a look at how B
He canceled the ranged for it. He canceled the ranged for it, so he probably wants to queue it up, and he's like, okay, what's missing? He's not realizing that he's getting housed. He's rushing up a house right now, but those seconds are so precious right now because if B is able to establish a foothold, he could be in trouble.
Yeah, this isn't the best right now for Mr. He is going to be trying his best. And yeah, I just got to say, I love the cute little, the cute little, what's it called? This bad boy, the palings right here out the front for B. They've vanished now, but I like it. It's just a very smart move from B, being very cute. But we'll check in with Mr. We'll see how he's doing. You mentioned earlier that he was potentially adding in a second town center. He's got 200 stone in the bank at the moment. I don't think this has been scouted out by B at this point either. So B going to be completely clueless. This dock, he's probably going to be scratching his head at this one as well, but when the Hulk comes out, he's going to be scratching a bit more than the head, that's for sure.
I think he's realizing what's going on. Horsemen from the French player, Hawks out here, he has to realize that something has to come down behind this one. He's not seeing archers right now, he's not seeing a lot of forces in general on land, so he has to realize that the idea is to hold the river with the Hawks. There is going to be a dock attempted, but this is a window for Mr. to kill that villager and deny that dock with the Hawk.
Yeah, this is going to be quite powerful. Hulk does come out. It's time for some spinning. It's time for some winning. And the Hulk indeed wins, slaughtering that villager. A giant ballista missile going straight through the chest of that villager. He regrets dropping down that dock immediately. And speaking of regrets, take a look at this. 3DB out the back of the base of Mr. right now. He's got a scout sitting there. He spots the gold mine. He sees it's got 3,400 gold, and he's looking at it, and he's like, I don't know really what that means at this point. I don't think he's doing fast castle. He spots the archery range coming down. He spots the second archery range coming down as well. I don't think he knows about the stone yet.
Yeah, I don't think either. And he might find that very soon, but it's already too late. He lost most of his longbows that crossed the river. There is one that makes it back home. 2 spearmen are moving up, and I think these spearmen will be the ones that are revealing that stone mine for him. He should be able to see that enough stone was mined for a second town center. And it's one of those situations where he's like, oh shoot, what do I do now?
Yeah, that's a big oh no moment, because when you spot your enemy and they are gathering stone, you're like, okay, that's fine. I can prepare for it. I know it hasn't come yet. When you spot the stone mine and it's got 300 stone missing on it, that is, oh shit. They've gathered 300 stone. They may have dropped down a second town center. How long have they had that for? I might be in trouble here.
And with the Hawks around, it's going to be impossible to pressure it. That's the magical thing here for Mista, that he also has the faster working French town centers, so even right now, he has a better villager count by 5, and that is just going to grow. So not only is he doing this with any civilization, he's doing it with the civ that probably benefits the most from that second town center because of that faster training. And of course, the Hawks will prevent the army from crossing. If B had a highly mobile army, like any kind of cavalry, this would be a smaller issue. But guess what? The English are just the slowest army civilization in the game, and that's why this is such a big brain move by Mista. He expected the English here, and knew very well that it will be difficult for the English to cross the river against Hawks.
Yeah. I was just sitting there thinking while you were talking. I was watching Mr. play, and I said, okay, right now, if I'm seeing everything that B is seeing, what's the best thing that he can be doing if I'm him? Well, I know I can't go I can't fight H2. If I try and stick around and drop down another TC, it's going to be too slow. I'm just not going to get up in time. He's already got the TC on me, and he's going to get up to castle too quickly. He's got control of the river, so I'm not going to be able to push across it in H2. I need to go to the castle age. That's exactly what he's done. He identified it. Dropping down the King's Palace now. I think this is a smart move. I would expect as soon as he gets up to the next stage, we may potentially see a siege workshop just put down immediately. Maybe even just a single Springled, and that will look to clear out this river, but obviously quite a big investment. That's 250 resources for the Springled, 300 resources just for the siege workshop. So we'll see how he plays it and whether he looks to do it. But attacks happening all over the map at the moment. A little bit of a skirmish to the back of the base of Mister, a scout with a horseman. There was some spearmen getting into a fight with a wolf, and I heard a villager got harpooned in the chest.
Yeah, exactly. There was a fort villager that was sent by B to the southern crossing to try and make a gate, so I guess he can cross with some sneaky units, but that was intercepted. As you said, the best thing that B can do is get his own second town center up, which is the King's Palace, basically. So that is indeed the best solution for him. He actually rushed it up so hard that he didn't even place on any resources. It's just standing there in the middle of nowhere, which is not so ideal, but I guess he just wanted to get up to Castle Age as fast as possible. And as you said, Springolds is the good way to deal with Hulks now, especially because we're playing the patch where the Springolds will do a lot more damage to ships than they used to. So then now they have a bonus damage, and B tried to do some damage on that gold mine. In the end, he's gonna get punished by that wolf over there, not even the villagers.
Even Gaia is on the side of Mister today. They said, we want you to win, Mister, and we are going to bring everybody on board, but they've had a very quick change of heart and have turned their attention toward the villagers, but do get taken out by those archers. But yeah, I mean, at this point in the game, I definitely feel like the advantage sits with Mister. Now, a lot of people might be watching this from the sidelines and thinking, oh no, it looks relatively even. And look, I'll be honest with you, it does. We've got 2 town centers up against the 2 town centers, but keep in mind, Mister's playing the French. These bad boys create villages faster than any other town centers in the world, except for the Chinese. Or the Holy Roman Empire. But we don't talk about that.
And, of course, you do have the cheaper eco tax as well. So it's much easier to afford a couple more economy upgrades over the English player over here. B is adding the English farms, which definitely helps. Would love to see a couple of fishing ships by Mist, and as I'm switching away over there, he's adding some. If you're not getting pushed on water, might as well add a couple of fishing ships, why not? He's on the way to Castle Age with the guild hall. He has dropped 2 more stables, 2 more ranges, so he's up to 4 ranges, and he's mining stone like a madman. That's gonna be a keep placed quite soon. Yeah. Probably at one of the crossings.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that, but I reckon he's actually just gonna drop a keep down. Yeah, I suspect he's just going to drop a keep down in his base. The 2 archery range and the stable are placed absolutely perfect for that one. So yeah, you can put it right in between the archery range and the stable, and he can get great coverage in there and look to use that French bonus as those players always do. And you can see he's actually gathering up a heap of stone here. He's very close to 800 stone, as you mentioned. We could potentially see that keep getting put down on the crossing. But yeah, Mister doing a great job of just remaining in control. Siege Workshop now coming up for B, as we did allude to earlier. So he's going to be looking to potentially get out of Springled. I think the Mangonel probably probably outranges the Hulk, but it's just going to take a long time to actually kill it. Yeah.
Especially because you can, to a certain extent, jug away from those shots as well. So Springold just does a lot more. As you said, it's also an option for Mister to drop that keep inside his base to just supplement the production. We'll have to see if that's the plan. It's clear he wants a keep for himself. The question is he going to control the crossing, which will give him a little more safety, or is he focusing on production and will just drop it inside his base? He has a ton of production buildings out here. That's 4 archery ranges, 2 stables plus the School of Cavalry and the barracks as well. So he's just going to unleash that juggernaut economy that he built. Very similar to the first game out here. 69 villagers as opposed to 52. Very nice.
Yeah, he is. He's doing very nice with that. Now heading up to 70, but you can see he's got enough stone to be fighting or to be dropping down that keep. He's definitely in control at this point. B is having a bit of a tough time. I'm going to be honest. I don't really like his position. He's going to need... I'm not going to say he's going to need a miracle, but it just seems like a difficult position to fight. Now we've got that Springwood coming out. He's going to be able to force that Hulk away from the crossing. He's then going to be able to utilize that or be able to get his units across. But a nice little distraction coming in from Mister up towards the north here. He manages to take out one of the horsemen. Second horseman may potentially get taken out here as well, ever so slowly. He could be heading back around towards this Springwood if he's not careful. But that Springwood does fall back towards safety, and now it looks like Mister coming out with a huge force. Take a look at this. He is streaming out these resources, or streaming out these units rather.
And he hasn't dropped that keep yet, which makes me wonder if he actually wants to place it inside his base, or maybe he wants to go super aggro with this. It's actually possible that he's realizing that he's got a big window here with superior numbers, and he could try to go for a super aggressive forward castle. He's sending in the knights to the left side once again. Distraction in the middle with the men-at-arms, and now the knights will pick off 1 or 2 villagers, and he just keeps grinding down the eco of the opponent here and maintaining that 20-ish villagers difference.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge. Now, obviously, the English do have the classic English farms, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's not going to be enough to make up that 22 villager difference that there is at the moment. B continuing to struggle, getting run around a little bit. It's almost like he's playing up against GUA at this point. He's getting run around so much. But now we'll take a look over towards Mr. He's still sitting here with 900 stone in the bank. I'm wondering exactly where this is going to go, but yeah, as you mentioned, we could potentially see a forward castle coming out for him. Still no castle drop down in the base at this point.
Did you see those knights passing that wall over there? There was a tile missing for B. B tried to trap those against the wall with the spears, but, well, the wall wasn't finished. There was a tile missing, and the knights get away, get another villager before they would be taken down. And look at the force that Mista is massing. His army is just gigantic.
Yeah, it's
Numbers are rather
really
close
big
right now, but it's increasing rapidly for Mista. It looks like Mista is going to end up dropping that keep in the end. It looks like he was just too busy on the other side of the river, so he didn't have the time to drop it up until now.
It's misplaced. My obsessive-compulsive disorder is really starting to kick in right now. It needs to be 1 tile down and 1 tile across, and it would be perfectly placed. Actually, might need to be 2 tiles down, but yeah, that's all right. You know, you can't win them all when you're sitting at game number 7 in this series that will potentially take you into a tournament that's going to win $100,000, or at least your share of $100,000.
Yeah, and once Mista gets in there, he's gonna have a good shot at taking down any of those guys in there. So, as weird as it sounds like, it's not like he's gonna have no chance after getting in if he gets in here. So right now the biggest challenge for him in regards to N4C is just winning this game, and he's in a great position to do that because B is on the back foot, and Mista is assembling a very scary and large army with the Veteran Royal Knights, the Archers, the Men-at-Arms, and those numbers for Mista are just increasing so rapidly.
One of the things I want to talk about is opportunity cost. 3DB has responded by the water presence of Mista by investing 300 wood into a siege workshop and 1,000 resources into Springalds. These units, for all intents and purposes, are useless against every other unit that is out here. They excel against siege, but there is no siege out on the field right now. There is only warships, and as a result, it means that these resources are wasted. These could have been anything. They could have been longbows, they could have been men-at-arms, but instead they just go down like nothing, and we begin to see the push coming in right now. Mista trying to make his money. The knights begin to come in towards the front line. You can see a pretty decent concave here. Villagers getting in on the action as well. It's just a huge force of units that are being pushed up towards his base now. Massive amounts of longbows. Mista is coming online, and he's looking incredibly strong. I think this might be it, Lidicor. As the score begins to build up, we see the units continuing to stream in. A monastery's been placed down for 3DB, but I feel like he's going to need a lot more than prayer if he wants to win this game, because Mista is definitely taking him to school right now, overwhelming his opponent. This is a series that went the entire way. We had a 7-game series, and 3DB taps out, eliminated. Mista is going to Berlin, baby, and we are doing it live.
What a set this was. I mean, unbelievable. And really, we've talked about this throughout this set, that Mista could have issues with attrition. He himself said that he suffers in these very long sets, and boy, oh boy, was this a super long one. And he delivered potentially his best game in the last. We've talked about who is going to bring something out of the bag of tricks, and it was Mista. French versus English, but on a match that doesn't really have these civilizations frequently played. And Mista had a strategy. This is something that makes him stand out from other players, many other players. Many other players have strategies for the first 3, 4, 5 games, but very few have strats set up for all 7. And Mista had it. Mista knew exactly that English is going to be the pick, and he had his game plan coming into this one, executed it with perfection, and ultimately heads to Berlin, and the final ticket available. It couldn't get closer than this one, though. Like, this was an absolute nail-biter, avert the ending of the M4C qualifiers.
Yeah, absolute insanity coming out from the Mista. I just want to compliment him on that single Hulk. I feel like that Hulk is one of the greatest baits in history. You force your enemy to make all of this response to your Hulk on the water to try and clear this potential threat on the water, and they invest all these resources into it, and you're like, I wasn't even going to make artillery or siege anyway, so it doesn't even bother me. It's such a smart move. And then he just overwhelms his opponent. Huge amount of military just came in using that French bonus from the castle. Incredibly well played from the Mister.
Really well played indeed, and one of the things that makes Mista a special player is that his game plan are often just very, very clean, and this was a very clean game plan as well. And it started out rough for him. If you remember, he had a tough time gathering sheep at the beginning, he had a tough time affording that first Hulk, and it seemed like B was gonna cross. Like, remember that Mista was housed for a long time, he didn't have the wood for it, started building an arch range, had to cancel it, so it was a rocky start in game number 7, but the game plan ultimately yielded the victory. And if you just look at the villager build up here for Mista, it tells you the game plan and tells you how well it worked out for him. He ends the game with 72 kills to 27 deaths. As you said, the sprinkles that he forced out from B were of minimal effect, the monastery was useless for B, and really, at the end of the day, everything that Mista invested into showed on the battlefield, whereas that wasn't the case for B at all in this final game.
Yeah. Unfortunately for B, it really felt like attrition may have gotten to him. Mista just managing to get one up on him. For those of you guys watching on YouTube, I hope you've enjoyed this series. It's been an absolute thrill casting with you today, Lidicor. So thank you very much for joining me. And for all you guys watching on YouTube, make sure you go check out Lidicor. I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you for watching.